Good morning. Thank you very much for being here today. I'd like to introduce the second lecture in a series of 10 that is part of Norway's representation in the 54th edition of the Venice Biennale. The series, titled The State of Things and commissioned by the Office for Contemporary Art Norway, or OCA, started yesterday with a lecture by Jacques Rancière and will continue in the next few days and throughout the whole duration of the Biennale with speakers such as Vandana Shiva and Jan Egeland tomorrow, Fawaz Gerges on Saturday, Eyal Weizmann in late June, Judith Butler and Franco Berardi in September, Saskia Sassen in October, and TJ Clark in November. All of them discussing what they think are the important issues of the day. You have a program in your seats with the dates and the venues. This is the first time that Norway is represented in Venice independently from Finland and Sweden. Historically, the three countries have shared the Nordic pavilion in the Giardini. This is a temporary arrangement, but we thought it gave us the occasion, or actually almost obliged us to think or to think what it means to have a national representation in Venice, in a context like Venice. What could it mean to represent a nation, its art or its culture, within the context of this international national exhibition? As those of you who could attend yesterday's lecture could hear, we started this reflection with two points or two thoughts. First, the political history of Norway as a country invested in mediation between different countries. And second, the story of a man, Fridtjof Nansen, who after World War I created a passport called the Nansen Passport, which allowed the large masses of refugees to move from places where they weren't wanted into places where they could actually find refuge. These two ideas provided us with a concept of nation shaped by its internationalism, one that could function as a platform that enables a multiplicity of voices and concerns, and one which is not shy of engaging in the urgencies of the day. The State of Things, this program of lectures, is exactly that. An attempt to engage with some of these urgencies within a platform, the Venice Biennale, which has not always been keen or able to deal with these urgencies. However, the context of art has proven to be able to function as a viable platform from which to address issues like this. Its claims to autonomy have secured a space for it, a space perhaps not for intervention, or at least not often, but a space for a reflection about the world that surrounds art. The art context is also a privileged space for pedagogical activity, a practice that shifts that autonomy towards a process of exchange and perhaps emancipation. Accompanying and complementing the State of Things as part of Norway's representation in Venice, we have organized another program called Beyond Death, Viral Discontents and Contemporary Notions about AIDS. This is a postgraduate program led by artist Bjarne Melgaard as a guest professor at Università di Venezia. This program, which started in mid-February and has just finished last week, intended to put into practice that pedagogical relationship, an alternative way of understanding what it means to have a national representation, but also an alternative way of thinking how art can have a presence within a context like Venice, and how can you establish a relationship to art or an artist. For the last 4 months, Melgaard has been working with a group of students at the Faculty of Design and Art on what is definitely one of the urgencies of today, the AIDS crisis. This was very much felt as an urgency for the contemporary art context during the second half of the 80s and the first half of the 90s. But in recent times, it seems to have slipped away, become like a distant, geographically and historically concern. We thought that it was important to redress this distance and make the problem ours again. And this is exactly what this course has done for the last 4 months. This pedagogical process has right now two visible outputs that don't necessarily sum up the whole experience, but that may give you an insight into the process. One is a website which is called beyonddeath.com, and an exhibition called Baton Sinister, which is opening today at 2 o'clock at Palazzo Contarini Corfu. There are some leaflets at the entrance that you can pick up. You're all welcome to come. There'll be a small reception or a big reception there at 2 o'clock. It's literally 2 minutes walk. The exhibition includes work by, it's been done collaboratively by Bjarne Melgaard and the students, and includes work by all of them. The participants are, besides Bjarne Melgaard, Alessio Sacchetto, Beatrice Piva, Cecilia Di Vizia, Corine Mazzoli, Davide Spilari, Elisa Fantin, Marco Fellini, Michelangelo Corsaro, Nicole Moserle, Paola Angelini, Valentina Rosselli, and Valeria Romagnini Solfato. Beyond Death and the State of Things are brought together by their attempt at exploring how the term art, or the institution art, can allow for different types of experiences, and for their attempt to tackle that state of things we discussed yesterday. But they are also joined by the fact that both were privileged to count with the participation of Leo Bersani. As well as being one of the lecturers within the State of Things, and he's going to give the lecture now, as you know, Bersani took part in Beyond Death as a guest lecturer in early May for a week. His participation in the course, on the invitation of Melgaard, was almost inevitable. His work on the topic of AIDS, with now classic texts such as It's the Right to Migrate, represents a landmark contribution to the thinking of and actively dealing with this matter. And together with his thorough exploration of processes of subject construction, as process of domination, but also process of emancipation, perhaps, made him the perfect summation of a set of concerns that we believe are of extreme urgency, risking repeating this word too often. But the topic of his lecture today, illegitimacy, brings us back to those moments in the 80s when a sector of the population was either considered as or treated as not belonging, not being rightful participants within the social context they were surrounded by. It's a situation that also recalls that moment in the 1920s when masses of populations were not recognized as legitimate citizens. And it also is a situation that we can easily find today. We don't have to think or look really far to find this figure of the illegitimate.